Welcome to the FujiClean USA Operations and Maintenance Training video. Given its smart and reliable engineering, with no pumps, aerators, or other moving parts or mechanical components inside the tank, maintenance of FujiClean wastewater treatment systems is relatively simple and headache-free. However, regular maintenance of FujiClean systems is critical, and this video will provide a brief overview of the standard maintenance procedures that service providers must perform a minimum of once every 6 months to ensure proper system performance. For more information about operations and maintenance service on FujiClean wastewater treatment systems, consult the FujiClean O&M manual or contact FujiClean USA or your local FujiClean distributor. To provide viewers with a better understanding of some of the terminology and concepts used in this video, the following is a brief description of the components and operation of the FujiClean system. FujiClean uses an easy, one-tank, small footprint, unobtrusive system that functions with no moving parts within the treatment tank, just continuous air movement, resulting in quiet, trouble-free operation. 3 control valves are used for easy maintenance and for site-specific process adjustment if necessary. This system uses a combination of integrated fixed media and activated sludge to process and treat wastewater. Incoming wastewater is received directly into the first of 3 major chambers, the sedimentation chamber. In this chamber, contaminated water mixes with recirculated treated water to weaken its concentration. Solids settle to the bottom, while oil and grease float to the top, and a conditioned influent free of solids and scum leaves this chamber through outlets in the first chamber partition wall. The conditioned influent is directed downward towards the baffle to the bottom of the second chamber, the anaerobic contact chamber. It then flows up through basket-type plastic media hosting millions of bacteria colonies. Here, organic matter is decomposed or captured by living microorganisms, and nitrate ions are reduced to a harmless gas. The processed water then moves through the openings on either side of the second chamber partition wall to the oxygen-rich third chamber, the aeration contact chamber. This chamber consists of 2 sections, each on opposite walls, which are fed oxygen by a very efficient linear diaphragm blower. This oxygen feeds aerobic microbes living on proprietary board and hollow mesh plastic media, where they consume organic material to form carbon dioxide, water, nitrite, and nitrate ions. The blower also provides air to recirculate treated water 4 to 6 times per day, airlifting water and solids from the bottom of the third chamber back to the first chamber. Recirculation also moves nitrified ions to the second chamber for further reduction into safe nitrogen gas. A clarification zone in the center section of the final chamber uses gravity to remove any remaining solids before using a controlled process to airlift clean effluent to the final disinfection and gravity discharge zone. This effluent airlift mechanism also provides in-tank equalization as processed water rises and falls in a controlled manner during treatment. Now, let's get to the training. Upon arrival to the site, check to make sure that the lids for the FujiClean system are at grade and are not damaged. If any odors are noticeable from outside the tank, it could be a sign of a damaged or unfastened lid. Once the tank lids are open, check for and remove any foreign objects that might have been flushed into the tank. If any pungent or unusual odors are detected, it may be a sign of insufficient airflow into the tank or the use of substances that negatively impact the bacterial colony in the tank, as a healthy FujiClean system will have minimal odor. Next, check the water level in each chamber to ensure it is between the low and high water marks found on the gauge in each chamber. If the water quality is being tested in the field or a sample is being taken for laboratory analysis, collect the sample before any maintenance work is done. Collect the sample carefully to avoid contamination of the sample with sludge. Transfer any scum that is migrated into the third chamber back to the first chamber. Remove obstructions, if any, from the inflow baffle of the first chamber, such as wipes, paper products, excessive grease, or inorganic materials. Check that the high water float is functioning properly by turning it upside down to confirm that it sounds the alarm on the control panel. Next, measure the sludge and scum levels in each chamber using a sludge judge. Scum levels should not reach to the recirculation pipe or overflow into any baffles in the neighboring chambers. Sludge levels for the CE5, CE7, and CEN5 should not exceed 35 inches in the first chamber or 16 inches in the second chamber. For other models, refer to our O&M manual. If the scum and/or sludge exceeds these thresholds and a pump out is required, be sure to follow the FujiClean pump out procedure. This pump out procedure consists of, among other things, sequencing the pump out as follows. First, gently skim any scum off the top of chamber 3 if necessary. Please note that the opening for the pump out hose in the third chamber is narrow, and care must be taken to avoid damaging any components of the tank in the third chamber. Next, pump the scum layer from the top of chamber 2. Then, pump the sludge from the bottom of chamber 2 by sticking the hose through the baffle in that chamber. After the second chamber has been pumped out, be sure to wash the filtration media in that chamber using a garden hose. Next, pump the scum from the top of chamber 1. And finally, pump the sludge from the bottom of chamber 1. Upon completion, refill chambers 1 and 2 with fresh water to the low water level. Take care during the pump out process not to probe or scrape inside the tank with any metal objects. Now it's time for the backwashing procedure, which consists of several steps. First, turn the dial for the effluent airlift to 0. Next, turn the recirculation airlift dial to 70 to 80% for 1 minute to pump any sludge that may have accumulated at the bottom of the third chamber back to the first chamber. At this point, the effluent dial will be set at 0, the aeration dial will be at 50, and the recirculation dial will be at 70 to 80. Now, turn the recirculation dial to 0 and turn the aeration dial to 100% on side A for 1 minute. Then turn the aeration to 100% on side B of the dial for another minute. During this step, the effluent airlift dial will be set at 0. The aeration dial will be set at 100% on side A or B, and the recirculation airlift dial will be set at 0. The purpose of this step is to slough off any biofilm that may have accumulated on the media in the aeration chamber by concentrating all airflow from the blower to each side of the aeration chamber independently. Turn the recirculation dial back to 70 to 80% to pump any biofilm or other solids that were dislodged from the media during the backwashing process back to the first chamber. Keep the recirculation at 70 to 80% for 1 minute or until the water being pumped back to the first chamber turns from brown back to clear. You've now completed 1 backwashing cycle. Repeat this step 1 to 2 additional times. When the backwashing procedure is complete, return all valve dials to their original positions with the effluent airlift dial set at 40%, the aeration dial set at 50%, and the recirculation airlift dial set at 20 to 30%. With the backwashing complete, check the aeration in the third chamber to confirm that there's an even distribution of bubbles over the entire surface of both sides. If this is not the case, check for air leakage near the couplings. Otherwise, run fresh water through the aeration pipe using a garden hose with provided adapter. If the aeration in the third chamber and/or the flow of the recirculation airlift is weak, it may indicate an issue with the blower or a break in the airline between the blower and the FujiClean tank. The next step is to clean the recirculation pipe that runs horizontally between the first and third chambers and the effluent and recirculation airlift pipes that run vertically in the third chamber. Clean the horizontal recirculation pipe and the vertical recirculation airlift with the snake brush provided in the FujiClean O&M kit as shown. The effluent airlift pump can be cleaned by turning up the effluent airlift dial to flush the airlift pump. If the effluent airlift is not functioning, even when the water level in the tank is high, clean the inside of the airlift pipe with the smaller snake brush provided in the FujiClean O&M kit. After cleaning, return the effluent airlift dial to its default position at 40%. The next step is to adjust the recirculation volume using the recirculation airlift dial. The flow of water coming out of the return end of the recirculation pipe in the first chamber should be aligned with the black lines at the edges of the return end of the pipe. It's very important that the recirculation volume is calibrated properly, as too much flow will recirculate the water too quickly through the tank, while too little flow will inhibit the recirculation process, which will negatively impact treatment performance. The next step in the O&M process is degassing the second chamber. Nitrogen gas builds up inside the media found in the second chamber of the tank, and proper maintenance requires releasing the suspended gas by prodding through the media with a section of conduit or similar material. Accumulation of nitrogen gas, and they will rise to the top of the second chamber. Continue prodding the media on all sides of the second chamber until no more nitrogen gas bubbles rise to the surface. Degassing is one of the most important steps in the O&M process, as the accumulation of nitrogen gas may obstruct the flow paths in the tank, raise the water level in the tank, and/or prevent the water level from equalizing. Continue the degassing operation and prod all sides of the media until the water level is equalized and no more gas bubbles rise to the surface. Do not use any metal objects for the degassing process, as they could damage the tank. Now the air blower and control panel can be inspected. Open the control panel and turn off the breakers for the FujiClean system. Confirm that the opening in the control panel where the float arm wire enters the box is plugged with silicone or a similar material. The opening in the tank wall where the float alarm wire enters the tank should also be plugged with silicone or a similar material. Failure to do so could allow gas from the treatment system to enter the control panel and corrode the terminals. Now it's time to move on to inspecting the air blower. Unscrew the top of the air blower and clear the air filter of any debris. If the filter is extremely dirty, replace it with a new one and gently screw the top of the blower back on. Turn the breakers in the control panel back on and close the panel. The maintenance of the tank is now complete, and the tank lids can be resecured. Before closing the tank, confirm that the valve dials are all set in their proper positions. Make sure all screws are correctly set to each riser and screwed in tightly to engage the gasket seals on the lids and prevent any odors from escaping through the lids. If you have any questions about the operations and maintenance procedure, consult the FujiClean O&M manual or call FujiClean USA or your local FujiClean distributor. Thanks for watching.